So today I wanted to talk about the three growing areas that we've got. So we've got the kitchen garden back at home, and we've got Debbie's plot, and we've got my plot. And I do all the kind of planning and sowing, seed starting, seedling starting, etc. for all three plots, and most of the harvesting. But Debbie looks after her plot, Debbie looks after the front garden, I look after the back garden, and I look after my plot. So that gives you kind of context. The three plots, three growing areas, or maybe four growing areas if you count the kitchen garden as a front and a back, are very different by design. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about, was how those four plots of land all work together to kind of make one coherent whole, and to address the different ways in which Debbie and I like to garden. So we'll start with my plot. And my plot is the ugliest, I don't mind saying that, of all the plots. It's also by far the most productive, and it's most intensively planted. It needs the most watering, it needs the most weeding, it needs the most, by far the most planting and harvesting. So I think out of the, let's just assume we're in an average year, we're growing maybe £8,000 worth of veg in total, fruit and veg in total. About 6,000 of it comes from my plot. So it's hugely productive by comparison with the other two plots, but it takes a lot more work. So it does take about 3/4 of the work. And the focus on my plot is very much year-round growing. So there's never a time really when a bed is empty for more than a week. Almost every bed has at least 2 plants growing in it at any point in time. We generally take 3 to 4 successions off each bed, so that's maybe 6 different types of plants growing in total over the year. So that's my plot, and I like it this way. Mine's all small beds, mostly small beds, because I'm not really into sort of heavy gardening sessions. I like to just pop down on an evening for an hour, 2 or 3 times a week, and maybe have one major session where I'm doing maybe 3 hours of gardening, for example, often on a Monday, and a couple of hours of harvesting often on a Sunday. And so it's very leisurely, very easy, but very frequent. And particularly like the frequency when it comes to the autumn, winter and early spring. There's not very much going on in terms of weed growth or pests and things like that. But I just like to come, just do a little bit of pottering around, fix a few issues, build a few beds or frames or whatever it is. It just gets me out of the house every day for an hour or so. And I love it. I love that. Not very much effort, evenly distributed across the weeks. I've got loads of other things on the go. Do a lot of cycling, a lot of hiking, a lot of reading, a lot of babysitting, a lot of traveling and all that sort of thing. So I haven't really got a huge amount of time for gardening. So that's the way my plot's done. So let's talk about the kitchen garden, the back garden. And that is designed for absolutely minimal effort. I mean, it's a leisure garden. We've got a big lawn in the middle of it for playing. We've got lots of stuff that's edible there. There's nothing that's really not edible because we've got grandkids playing in there and eating and sort of foraging in that garden. So there's lots of fruit for them to eat and things like that. It's designed to look nice all year round and to be almost no effort. I probably do about 1 hour gardening in there a week. It's really, really simple to look after. And it's just designed to look neat and tidy, easy to manage, moderately productive. We like to grow a lot of the summer things we harvest in summer in there because it's just easier to harvest in the back garden as we need things. That's the kind of design philosophy around that garden. And the front garden, which Debbie looks after, we've designed that so that it looks interesting for passers-by. So we get a lot of people stopping and chatting, and we're trying to inspire people with that garden to show that you can have quite a nice looking front garden that's also very productive. And we mostly grow veg in that garden, although we do have quite a lot of things like gooseberries and apples and things as well. And yeah, it's a lovely, it's a great conversation starter in there. Looks quite nice, but again, minimal effort. If it's half an hour a week, I'd be surprised. It really doesn't take very much effort, and that is because in all of our gardens everything's heavily mulched with compost to keep the weeds down. All the paths are thick layers of wood chip. It's all designed basically for minimum work. Debbie's plot is very different to my plot. Its main productive period is sort of the June, May, June sort of time through until October. But we do grow some stuff over winter in it, so things like field beans, some of the brassicas and things like that, and some onions, and quite a lot of salad onions. But its main productive season is the traditional growing period, spring and early autumn. But it's designed for Debbie's style of gardening, which is infrequent visits, so maybe once every 2 weeks, once a week, something like that, where she comes and she does a lot of work during that period, but then she leaves it for a long time. So it doesn't have anything in there that needs regular watering. It doesn't have too much in there that's going to be susceptible to pests, brassicas and the like. It's very much, doesn't have any short-lived plants, or very many short-lived plants in there. Most of the things I kind of plant them in spring and take them out in October type of plants. So big chunks of time, get everything ready, get everything weeded, plant it, leave it for a long time and harvest it. So that's the kind of philosophy for that plot. Lots and lots of perennial planting as well. So loads and loads of fruit trees, fruit bushes, and the like. And and also things like Jerusalem artichokes, globe artichokes, and that sort of thing, and herb beds, of course. So that is kind of how the plots work together. We try not to get much in the way of gluts, because what we're really looking to achieve is a big harvest table every week of the year. And whilst what's on that harvest table varies tremendously from month to month, the quantity that we harvest is fairly consistent, although obviously in summer we are also harvesting for making a lot of preserves, and harvesting in October we're harvesting a lot of stuff that goes into store. So lots of beetroot, for example, and potatoes and onions, etc., that are going into store. But in general terms, what we're trying to do is get a nice, steady, fresh food harvest every month of the year. And as I said, the plots work together to try and achieve that for us, without the sort of big boom and bust kind of type of gardening that you sometimes get if you don't have a lot of undercover space like we have on my plot in particular. So I hope that gives you kind of some idea as to the way that we garden. The other nice thing about it is that there's just a lot of variety. They all look very, very different. It allows me to get a good appreciation also of different styles of gardening that might suit different types of people who've got different amounts of time. And so I hope that's helpful. My name's Steve. This is the Seaside Kitchen Garden and Allotment channel, and I'll see you soon.